Yes, we have Lusaid in the building, NorCal representative. Worked with this guy for a long time now. He self-taught engineer, rapper, producer, the whole bit. So, and he's probably the best self-taught rapper as far as like learning how to make yourself sound good that I've ever seen. Most people don't know how to mix at all, and your stuff sounds like super professional. So definitely wanted to bring him, onto the program and just get your knowledge, man, because you kind of started where a lot of people are starting, and now you are professional. You could call yourself a professional engineer if you want,
Yeah,
so.
I do.
Yeah. So
I get that paper, man.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah.
Why don't we just kind of start at the beginning? What didn't you know that you wanted to learn, and how did you dig into learning how to mix and engineer?
I didn't know shit, to be honest with you. Like, I don't know what was going on. When I first started doing music, we had like an OG homie that we kicked it with from one of my groups that I was in, and he had the equipment, so we'd go to his spot, he'd record us and shit. I kind of look and watch. We were using Cool Edit Pro or Adobe Audition, some bootleg, you know what I'm saying, 1990s shit.
Yeah.
So we were using that, and then it got to a point where it's like I was trying to record more and more and more, and he wasn't as available. He was older, he had things going on. I was like 16 in high school, like trying to get it basically. So he ended up letting me borrow his equipment at my crib, and I had it for like 2 years straight. And me and my homies would just record like every chance we got, all day, every day. And it was just through repetition and like trial and error / research, just Googling like, what does EQ mean? Like, I remember that was something I was stuck on for a couple of years, like EQing and like the benefits or like techniques or anything like that, because there isn't really a lot of information that's kind of just plain and simple out there. So I had to figure out what all that stuff meant. But that's how it started. It was just like a necessity, basically.
And what kind of equipment did he hook you up with?
He had a pretty decent setup. He had a what brand was it? It was like called Tune Box or something like that, like a little interface. And then he had 2 monitors. They were probably like 2 little 5-inch monitors. And then he had a general mic setup, XLR mic, which is like the non-USB ones for those who don't know. And then just like a regular condenser mic. Actually, his microphone was pretty good. It was a MXL 90, which is like the one. I don't know. You see it a lot when there's like videos of like back in the day recording in studios and stuff. But he had like the cheaper version of that, 990 or 880 or something like that. I forget. But it was pretty standard. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was more expensive than a beginner setup would have been. Like maybe like a mid-grade kind of thing, but it was definitely meant for like home recording and stuff. It wasn't like top-notch professional. So I learned on that kind of self. He didn't even really show me much. I just kind of ran with what I saw him doing and stuff.
As far as the actual engineering part, or just like the equipment and like what to fill in?
Everything really, like the engineering as far as like what needs to be on, what effects I need to use to get certain sounds, or like, in all honesty, like the first year, like even if you go like way back on my SoundCloud, you can hear like some of the early songs that I did. Like there's some on there that are just like, I got them blocked, like ain't nobody hearing them again. But maybe I'll let one of those go just for the
for the culture.
Yeah, just so they can see the difference of like now and then, and what I share with you guys, how far you can grow, you know what I'm saying? But like all my stuff was just bass heavy, like there was no highs at all. Like I don't know, it was bad. Just it sounded muddy, it was gross, like
gross. So what is a good starter setup for, you know, the artist who's, you know, really just trying to like, okay, let me invest in a setup to hold me down for like my first year of rapping?
Right. So as far as what equipment you need a mic, headphones, some type of computer, an interface, and like a pop filter, or like one of them, I forget what they're called. They go behind the back. Yeah, that's a pop filter. Then they got the little
the reflection
screen thing in the back. I had one of those for a minute, but right now I got one of those. How do you pronounce it? Coyote ball.
Oh yeah, chaotica joint. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have it with me right now, so I can't show you guys. But if you just Google it, it's just basically like a foam ball you put over the mic, and it kind of creates the effect of like a soundproof booth, kind of, so you can record almost anywhere and not really have much interference. But you know, that's all on your budget. But those are essentially the only real things you need to go, and some type of recording software.
And cables.
Oh yeah, well, cables and everything. Yeah. Oh, and some monitor speakers and some headphones. Monitor speakers. If we're gonna get into engineering, I would suggest, you know, putting a little bit more money into that, as well as a good pair. Well, I guess it's not a necessity. Preference-wise, I prefer a good pair of headphones. They give you a nice, clear, even sound in your ear. It makes it easier recording for me. A lot of people don't like to hear themselves when they record. Some people do though, so, you know. Plus, it's always good with mixing to have different points of reference to check to make sure it sounds good on different, you know, different areas in the car, on like iPhone headphones, speakers, laptop speakers, whatever, you know. But as far as brands, I prefer what I got right now. My monitors, they're what are they called? I have some M Audios. Those are cool. Those weren't that expensive. They were like, I think I got them on sale for like $300 for both. So it's like $150 each. They're like little 3.5 inch. They're not that big. I can take them with me wherever I go. They don't got a lot of bottom end, but I mean, you can get by with it. As far as headphones, the Sennheiser, I think, is that how you pronounce that? I love those headphones. Those are like a movie on your ears. It's crazy. But right now, I broke my pair broke, so I just bought some replacement ones to fill in on Amazon for like $50. They're not the best sound, but they get the job done. Like if you're on a budget, hands down. And they detach and they're Bluetooth, so if you want to take them on the go, and you know what I'm saying, do what you got to do, get some writing going. Amazon has a lot of good stuff. So there's so much access to technology and good quality stuff nowadays that it's kind of easy to get it set up and just, you know, as long as you know what you're trying to do and how to use it, you can get by pretty easy.
What about the interface?
Interface, I'm a huge fan of Focusrite. They got the Scarlett. I use the 2i2, I think it's called, or 22. Something, the 2-1 that has the 2 channels, so 2 microphone inputs, and then, you know, just the regular volume knob and whatnot. Those are great. They also have a cheaper version with just 1 channel. If you're just recording, you know, if you only got 1 mic, you don't really need any other channels. It was just for yourself. That one probably runs like 140, 150, something like that. The 2 channel one runs about like 2 something, so it's not too bad. But there's a lot of different ones, like the M Audio ones are pretty good as well, as far as the interfaces go. But I kind of kept the same brand. I went to the school, Full Sail University, for audio production, and they have when you sign up, part of your financial aid packet goes to sending you equipment. So all the equipment I have now, I got from school, so I kind of use that as a standard as far as like home studios, like whatever brands or things they send you, because they're supposed to be going off of industry standard, you know what I mean? So as far as prices go, though, me and my team recently purchased some more equipment. for getting the studio space. But we kind of ran with the same brands, and we've had really good. They have good reviews online and everything as well, not just my own personal experience. I like those brands in particular. Focusrite, I think, is a go-to. A lot of professionals I've seen just on Instagram, like, oh, we're in a hotel recording, or we all day in the booth. I see their interfaces and their pictures, and it's the same stuff. So that's pretty cool.
I got one right here. I ain't gonna take it off because I'm actually talking through it.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. So, what about the computer? Do you have any specifications you usually look for when getting a computer with the recording mindset?
That's debatable. We've been debating this a lot lately, but I'm a Mac person as far as computers go. Their processors and their sound cards, just stock and everything, are pretty solid and pretty. It's the industry standard as well. But I do have homies that build their own computers that are really strong, really fast, and they record really well as well. I don't know those specifications in their computers because they built them themselves. But there are computers out there and laptops like what's it called, like the Alienware or something like that. It looks like some robotic space Star Wars type of shit. But I see a lot of producers use those for making beats. I see a lot of producers and a lot of the engineers that I see, aside from me, really, everybody else just uses Mac, what do they call it? The full Macs in the studios. Nobody's really plugging it on the laptop. But that's kind of my comfort zone with the laptop.
I have a desktop, for the record. Because, like you said, I see them in every studio from every level. There's all Macs out there. So, What about, and we'll get into software in a second, but let's just kind of handle the equipment. What about, one step higher than just the first year of rap? Like, where would you invest in step by step from there?
So, if you were looking to upgrade, I would definitely look into microphones, getting higher quality microphones. Those can get as expensive as you want them to get, really. But I peeped, I got the box here. So what the hell is that? I have Audio Technica 880 microphones. Is that the box? Hold on, I got the box right. Nah, Audio Technica AT2035. Looks like this.
Okay, nice.
I bought these at like an electronics store in my neighborhood for they were like 90 each. And I've seen those in like studios that I've gone to.
What? 90?
90. I don't know if it was a sale because we bought 3 of them for a podcast we were doing. You look them up and they have good dynamics. The sound is clear, the sound is warm. It's a cardioid condenser microphone. So it has like a smooth and natural sound for like the lower range voice, which a lot of rappers tend to have, or at least when you talk and you put your rap voice on, it's a little bit deeper sometimes, so it comes through real smooth. That's the only mic that I personally paid for myself that I like to use because it's a good price and it's a good brand and they last. I've had mine that I have now for a couple of years. It hasn't faltered, but I mean, you can go up, you can get like the blue, anything blue, the Bluebird, they look fancy. They look like an aerosol can with a ball at the top.
old man, Elvis Presley mic and stuff.
You know what I mean? They got those. Those are cool. But I mean, there's different types of mics for different kind of sounds. Like if you go to a big studio, they have a whole bunch of mics on deck, and they use them for different things. Some mics are made for like singers with big voices. Some mics are made for more like recording a bunch of people at once type of thing. the mic like Drew has right there, like the handheld mic, that's more just like, you know, freelance kind of making references and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it really depends. Like, if you're going to do like, if you're trying to sing more, I would get a mic like a kind of like this one, honestly. Honestly, this mic has done a lot of good things for me with different types of voices. Like, female singer voices have come out really nice on this. My voice comes out really nice on this. One of my homies has a really deeper voice, is really strong. Like, I don't have to do much mixing to his vocals because they punch through so much. So it's just more like, if anything, softening it up a little bit and brightening it with reverbs and stuff, making it sound nice. But I would definitely recommend that mic. They ain't paying me. I wish they would. Send me some.
Hey man, but yeah, we're gonna look into that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you know, if I'm gonna put people on game, I'm gonna put them on what I know and what I use personally.
But so do you record some of the ones you had posted in our group with that?
Everything.
Yeah, well, definitely. If it's cool with you, we should post one of those songs. Well, yeah. What do if we promote you, bro? Yeah, we'll post them so people can really hear what, because that all sounds. I thought that was I thought that was with the Neumann or one of them 1,000+ mics. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, man, that's what I'm saying. Like, you really, in all honesty, you really don't need to spend as much as you think to get high quality stuff. It's more so technique and having like knowing what to listen for when you're mixing stuff.
Yeah, well, with that in mind, let's move on to first, obviously, softwares, and then we can move into actually techniques.
Right. So, like I said, I started off on Adobe Audition. I had a ripped, cracked version on my old PC laptop. Well, not PC laptop, but you know, like not an Apple. That was cool, but very limited. I used to record in GarageBand. That was surprisingly user-friendly and decent, but like, that's more if you can't afford to get any of these programs, but you got a MacBook, it comes in there free. So that's another thing that's good about getting a MacBook or a Mac computer. GarageBand comes in there for free. That program can get it done for you. You just don't have a lot of mixing options, but you have enough in there to make it sound, you can put it out. That's some beginner stuff. Some people like to record into Logic. Logic is mostly like a beat making program, but they do have a built-in recording part of it and mixing as well. You can get down in there, but like what I tell people, what I've noticed is when you bounce those files out, they lose some quality. They don't really shine as they do. Like, we had one of my homies was a singer. When he recorded on his own, he recorded on Logic. He would send me the files to mix the song, and it would always, you know, not shine like it would when he would record at my house. That could be Logic, and that could also be his mic. You know what I'm saying? Or he put anything on it before he sent it. I always noticed that though. And yeah, when you bounce out the final MP3s, that's something that I know. The waves and everything. I personally use Pro Tools 11. There's newer ones out, but I'm on 11. I like 11. I'm cool with it. I like 10 as well. Great programs. Easy to learn, but there's a lot to learn. So it could be overwhelming for some people if you're not really like invested in it. But I mean, that's the industry standard. That's what everybody uses for the most part, as far as I know. Expensive, but most of these programs are kind of expensive, and the cheaper ones will give you the ability to record, but like very limited in what you can do with it. So you kind of get what you pay for. So I would say, you know, mic, monitors, and recording software are probably the top 3 things to worry about, because you could always upgrade the rest of the stuff later. Those price points aren't as bad, but like Pro Tools, I think out the box is like 800 or 1,000 or something like that. You can they go on sale from time to time. You can probably finance it at some places. Or if you're a computer savvy person, I'm not saying to do nothing illegal, but you can find ways to find it on the internet.
Yeah.
Which is what I did originally. I had a bootleg version until my school sent me the real one. So,
yeah, I mean, I think there's like lighter versions too with M Audio, right? With
yeah. There's a Pro Tools, I think it's called LE.
Yeah,
I believe, and that's the limited version. I forgot about that too. There's different, and then there's like the HD and producer packs and stuff like that. Yeah, but I mean, you get that. That's easy. That's good to go too. It's all about plugins. I don't know. I think they might have limited plugin capabilities. Y'all didn't hear that.
you trying to deepen your voice? Yeah.
No, my shit cracked, so I had to, bring it back one time.
Yeah, still thug now. Still thug. Yeah. So actually, with that in mind, so plugins? I know you're gonna say Waves. Everybody says Waves, right? Like that's
I mean, Waves is like how could you compare Waves? I don't know. Waves is like the well, it's hard to say. They're like the bougie version because they're actually really good quality and they got a lot. And to be completely honest, they go on sale a lot. Like I'm signed into their website. I get their email newsletters and everything, and they always got stuff on sale. Always. And the bundles go on sale and all of that. But to be completely honest, like I hardly use any aftermarket type of plugins. I use mostly stock plugins. Like
okay, dang.
That's what I learned with, and that's kind of what I know, and I'm good at it. So like, why change it up? There's some things that I might come across and learn about that I need. It's like, oh, that does this. Okay, cool. So instead of using 2 plugins to make this effect, there's one that just does it off the rip. So I might go buy it solo, but at this point, like when I look at the plugin bundles, I have a lot of that stuff, or I know how to do that stuff without paying for it. So that's kind of, I guess, a benefit. But it is possible. You don't need all that stuff. But if you're trying to be an engineer and go to school or go work at a professional studio, then you definitely need to be familiar with all that stuff because they have all of that, and they're gonna want you to use it.
Right.
But yeah.
So what? All right. So let's start with kind of the basics. Like you said, EQ. Why don't we get a little explanation of that as an overview?
So EQ, how I finally figured it is like when you pull up an EQ, you see like the graph. Mm-hmm. It's the frequency ranges. You know what I'm saying? So the 5,000, 7,000 side, 10K side. That's all the high part. Then you got the middle, which is like the 1,000 to like 700 or something like that. And then you got the low end, which is everything below that, which is the part that I didn't know in the beginning was that a lot of the muddiness and the rumble and the noises in the background is all in the low end of the spectrum usually. And your voice, since it's up close, is what projects into the microphone. So whatever your tone of your voice is will be the richest portion of the sound clip. So you're supposed to trim that last part off. And that's why, like I said earlier, a lot of my old songs sounded hella bassy and hella muddy and not really clear. There wasn't crispness to the vocals because I wasn't touching that. And if anything, I was boosting some of the bottom end just to make it like, you know what I'm saying? Like have that dirty sound to it. But once I started trimming that off around, depending on the person, like one thing that I did, I watched this video from this channel called Holistic Songwriters. Mm-hmm. They did this thing on Drake and how they created Drake. A lot more than just his sound, like his whole Drakeness. But they talked about his sound, and they were saying how, he has them underwater sounding beats, the lo-fi and all of that driving that night type of shit. They do that on purpose And the way they mix his vocals is they take all the bottom end out of his vocals. So like the whole top end of his songs is his voice. And then the bottom end is just the bass, the 808s, the drums, and whatever else mixed into it, which makes that Drake sound. And I kind of mix my stuff the same type of way prior to knowing that. So I thought that was kind of cool. But like basically when if you cut off too much of the low end, it'll start to sound like the telephone effect.
Mm-hmm.
Like you know, like you got a megaphone and you're yelling through a megaphone type of thing. Like like how you hear ad-libs in songs, like Migos songs and stuff. It'll sound like that as your main vocal. So yeah, so you just gotta kind of, what I do when I have a question, I just Google EQ frequency chart or EQ cheat sheet or something, and it'll pull up and it'll show what the EQ looks like, and then it'll tell you which things, like if it sounds too nasally, it'll say move this part up, like lower this or do that, or if it's too boxy, then cut this frequency out, or if it's like the S's are too like or P's or whatever, you can cut certain frequencies out in the higher range to like lower that out and put a de-esser on it to kind of smooth it out. But the EQ should be used to basically kind of like correct the vocal and kind of shape it to where you want it to go so it sits in the mix properly. Because if there's too much low end or too much high end, it might bleed in with some of the other instruments and it won't sound clear. You won't be able to hear it and it won't stand out in front. So you do EQ to do that, to kind of polish the turd, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. So what about reverb, right?
Yeah. So reverb to me, reverb is what the secret sauce is. If you can learn how to reverb correctly, man, you could take a vocal from being like, oh, that's tight, to like, damn, I felt that in my soul, bro. You know what I'm saying? Or like, damn, that just sounds so beautiful in my ear, you know? Like, reverb is, you know, is the makeup to the vocal, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? You take the reverb off, you wake up next to that vocal the next morning, you're like, what the hell did I do last night?
Yeah, man. That sound amateur without it.
Yeah, right. So reverb is like the echoey kind of sound. It gives like an aura to it. It gives a color to the vocal, in my opinion, when I mix. Just think for examples of reverb that are kind of obvious. If you think of it, like most Travis Scott vocals, he has a specific kind of reverb that's like big and like hollow sounding. It's called like a church reverb, like if you're in a church and you yell and it sounds like echoes all over the place kind of thing. There's that kind of reverb. If you go listen to like most rappers, like not the melodic rappers, but like anybody who's just like a Kendrick or something, or a Cole, their voices sound kind of like they're just talking to you through the song, but in a way to where it kind of blends into the background, so like it becomes part of the beat almost, you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what when I do reverbs, I treat it like I picture, when I close my eyes and listen to the mix, I picture like water, and the beat playing and everything is like water and waves and shit, and then when the vocal comes up, I picture like an island poking out, or like a glacier coming out of the water. So if you put a lot of reverb on it, you know what I'm saying, the glacier kind of just chills out into the water. If you don't put any reverb on it, it kind of just sticks out, kind of like a tree almost. So you kind of want to find that happy medium to where it blends into the beat, but it also stands out, you know, and it's clear and you can hear everything, and you can hear the inflections and the voices and everything. So it's really delicate. It takes a lot of practice. I'm still learning things about reverb, but I think it's one of the most fun parts of mixing, is trying to figure out that perfect sound, because then that could just take it, even if it's like a bad quality recording, some decent reverb on it can make it sound a lot better.
Dope. Well, what about compression? That's another big one.
Yeah, compression. Compression. The Soulja Boy. Yeah, that was a rough one to learn too. Like that was a lot of head bumps on that one because it's like too much, too little, what settings you use, all this and that. One place that I learned a lot mixing wise, I learned not only from trial and error but research. So I'm kind of like self-taught through YouTube most of the time, or just articles and stuff I find. But there's not a lot, but there's some resources available online for like mixing information. But there's this show called Into the Layer with damn, I forget his name. This famous mixer guy, but anyway, he teaches some stuff. He's kind of hard to understand if you don't know the like lingo of mixing and music and stuff. But essentially, I watched him, and then also Young Guru, Jay-Z's mixer. He has a few videos online that explain compression and explain EQ and explain reverb and all of that. That was a really big help for me. So if you guys want to check that out, just look up Young Guru mixing tips or something. That should pop up. But essentially, compression is like you set the parameters for the vocals to where if it gets a certain volume, it gets cut off. Anything above that threshold that you set of the vocal kind of squishes it down, and then it brings the bottom, so it kind of sandwiches it like that. So if you ever listen, like for me, when I listen to songs in like nice headphones, you hear the beat like everywhere in the headphone, but the vocals like that. It's nice and cool. So you hear everything, and then you'll hear the ad libs coming in like this and coming in like this and like that and all of that, as opposed to everything just blah, blah, just everywhere, and it hurts your ears. But like one group that I love to listen to their songs in headphones because their mixing is always dope, is Ray Shremmerd. So their first couple albums, like if you listen to any of their hits, or like one song that I really like the mixing on is what's that song called?
This could be
or something like that.
Song is dope. Which one? This could be us. I love that song. I don't know.
That song is so hard, right? Yeah, that song is hella hard. But the mixing on that song is so crazy because the vocal, it kind of entrances you, like Sway Lee's voice. The reverb on it makes it sound so good on the beat, and then you hear his harmonies come in from like all these different places, and all the way. It's tight, bro. Like their mixing is dope. Plus the songs are good. And the slap, so it's like, matchmaking. But
that's crazy.
Compression is what makes it sound like that. So it's hard to teach or explain parameters to people because it depends on the vocal. So like I said, my homie, he has a very rich lower tone voice, so I don't have to compress it too much. It just kind of like squishes a little bit, and the middle of it is really like beefy. But like my voice, sometimes depending on what tone that I'm rapping in, I might have to compress it a little bit more just to make sure it's solid. Because my voice is kind of, I don't know. It's hard to explain my own self sometimes. But.
It's very dope, is what it is. See, my voice is just incredible, is what they usually say.
Yeah, it's hard to teach perfection. You feel me?
Sorry, no course for that coming out.
Yeah, right. That's what they call a blessing.
Okay. So one other big one I think is, and even I haven't quite I don't really know how to explain this, but like delay, obviously, which I use at this point. I used to think echo and delay were different things, but now I kind of think of them as the same thing. Like my echo effect is always just a delay, and then
right.
But can you explain, your thoughts on that kind of dichotomy? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So like, I love delays too. Like reverb and delays are like my two main. That's the total sauce. I didn't want to give you all the flavors. But you got all 21 now. So so delays are like if you don't put any delays on your songs and you put a little bit of reverb, they'll sound good, but there'll be a lot of empty space sometimes, especially if you're doing like melodic stuff where there's gaps, or like if you're writing a certain beat, you know what I'm saying? So like and then delays give your ad libs life to me. So like Uh, I usually don't put delays on the main vocal. I'll put them on like the second or third takes, like the ones where you come in and say the last 3 words of the bar or whatever, or on ad libs. So then I'll do those. I'll make them wet, which means there's more reverb than not reverb on them. So it kind of sounds like it's floating, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then when you say like Travis Scott goes, yeah, you hear the yeah, mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Or the so like echoing effects. So you say hey, hey, hey in the background. You hear those you don't really hear them, but you feel them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like it brings the hook, makes the hook bigger. You know what I'm saying? It makes it kind of accentuates little things when you add it in certain places. Even on instruments, if you're ever mixing like full tracks and not just like a 2-track beat, you know, you might add a little delay on some guitar or something to give it like an extra, like, you know what I mean? Like whatever, you know what I'm saying? So delays and reverb are the most beneficial in my opinion and the most fun to learn, because you really can create your own sound with those alone, you know what I mean? Like me and my homie, we just finished mixing one of his last songs on his project, and we had this ad lib that we did in a song like in his last album, and we were trying to remember how I mixed that little, because it sounded like an alien, like it was crazy. I finally figured it out. So like that could be his thing now, you know what I'm saying? Like that ad lib might pop up in a few different songs, and now you know, like, oh, he says that all the time, type of thing, like a branding type of thing. But yeah, like even if you look, I don't know if you guys have seen videos of like Travis Scott in the studio, but like he'll be in there recording with somebody and he'll sit down and he'll mix his own vocals. Like a lot of people do that. Like, so even if you move past this level of doing it yourself and you go places where, you know, other people are in the building with you, like you can still sit down and mix it yourself, because only you know what you like. And if you can explain it, that's cool, but sometimes they don't get it, you know, or they don't know how you did this, or you might have certain auto-tune settings that you want, but you know what I'm saying? So it's nice to know that type of stuff and how to get with it. But like your delays and your reverb, have fun with that.
Yeah, and I think I'd add to, you mentioned it earlier, if people want the Migos ad lib, all it is turning that EQ up to get the walkie-talkie sound, reverb, and then delay. You know what I mean? Right. You know, that's all that it is.
That's all it is.
You know what I mean? Trying to think, is there any other? Those are the big ones I know everyone needs to know. Soundproofing. How do you go about soundproofing on a budget?
You don't. I didn't soundproof. I mean, there's definitely a difference, right? Yeah. Definitely a difference. Like if you can afford to do it, do it. If you can't, there's little cheap hacks you could do to kind of compensate. But the best thing that I learned that helped me out the most was just room placement for the microphone.
Yep.
When I was in school, I learned about some of that stuff. We had to like design studios and stuff, and like find equipment online and make budgets and like all kinds of stuff. One of those things was like microphone placements and like how sounds echo and all of that stuff. So like, for instance, a lot of people, it's like cliche to put the mic in the closet type of thing, and you're at the house and make that a booth or whatever. But sometimes you don't got good acoustics in there. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And if you can't soundproof it properly, it's just gonna be like echo all up in the microphone, and it's gonna deteriorate the sound. A lot of people like to cover everything in blankets. That's worked for me, but you gotta like really, really blanket it, like thick comforters, not like sheets. You know what I'm saying? And like put them behind and to the side, side and behind it. I forget what they're called, but they're like sound deadening shields. So it's kind of built like a pop screen filter. So you screw it onto the
reflection filter.
Yeah, is that what it's called? Reflection filter. There you go.
Yeah, the little stadium looking one. Yeah.
A lot of the songs you heard, I recorded with that behind me, like the earlier songs. Mm-hmm. All my newer stuff though has been with that ball. That ball is like 150 to 2, I think.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad. The little reflection filter is like 80. The big one is probably about the same as the ball. I would definitely suggest getting the ball, because it don't really matter where you put the mic with that thing on, as long as it's not like abrasive noises right around you. Like a lot of things I've been noticing in studios now is like they'll have the mic just right there in the control room, not even in the booth, and they're just sitting there with the engineer recording and then mixing right there, like nothing. So it's like
in the hotel rooms, man. I mean,
just right there.
A lot of those,
Yeah, so I mean, you got to take that. You got to think if professional, what's considered professional is doing it that way. There's no reason you can't. Like, you don't need to like overcompensate just because you feel like they have more, like, higher quality equipment. They're still doing the same thing you could do at home. You can make just as good songs as long as you have an understanding of what you're doing and everything. You know what I'm saying? So that's just what life. That's a life gem for y'all.
Yeah, exactly, man. Glitz and glamour. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit? We're wrapping up here. Tell us a little bit about what you up to. How do we get in touch? Get in the Lusaid movement. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So, like you said, I'm a rapper, engineer, part of a label, Full Effect Entertainment. We're out here, you know what I'm saying? It's Northern California, Sacramento, California, formerly known as the City of Trees. I don't even know what they call it anymore, but yeah, man, I engineer, freelance work. You can hit me up, my IG at Lusaid, Lusaid, for any mixing work, or if you need a feature, or if you need, you want to work, just hit me up. I'm always on there. I got an EP coming soon, dropping some singles real soon. I just finished mixing my homie's EP that's coming out right after mine. We might do some creative marketing with the releases, so you know what I'm saying, watch out for that. Trying to change it up. It's a new day out there. You gotta roll with the punches, man, and keep it interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, videos, all of that, we do all of that. So if you're in the Northern California area, you need video work, Full Effect Films, we shoot videos. We got that high quality 4K technology, cameras, we got all the gears, we travel, as long as we get compensated properly. We got a whole bunch of videos out, so if you guys go to Full Effect Films on YouTube, you can check all the work we've done for other people. If you look me up, Lusaid, on YouTube, you can see all my videos. Follow me, comment, show love. I show love back. It's all good, man.
Yeah, and don't try to come at him with the roast, man, because he'll flame you up real quick.
I will destroy you.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you so much for your time, man, and definitely planning to build some more. So y'all keep an eye out for Lusaid. Hopefully we'll get some more courses with the homie, and of course, yeah, take advantage of his services. Go here and rock. He spits that fire. And yeah, thank you for your time, brother. I really appreciate it.
Man. Stay up.